What's going on, ladies and gents, boys and girls, guardians of all ages, Joker back again, once again. So, the Iron Banner is here. Now, I'm not going to speak for the entirety of the Destiny community, but if my community is a microcosm of said Destiny community, and they're unhappy with the Iron Banner, and there has been no end to the articles written about the Iron Banner and the Iron Banner emote, I'm going to make the assumption that people are quite unhappy with Bungie selling an event emote like the Iron Banner emote for $10. And I wholeheartedly agree with this unhappiness. I mean, what's next? Faction rally emotes? It's also this sort of self-inflicted wound that Bungie has inflicted on themselves. While the community wants to be able to directly purchase emotes and other items from the cash shop, that's clearly not the intention here, as these bundles are the only things that you can directly purchase. Also, this is something that should clearly be in Lord Saladin's inventory. This isn't a randomly cool dance or a meme come to life, it is, for a lack of a better terminology, a piece of Iron Banner gear being sold in the cash shop. On the flip side, you have people saying, who gives a flying fuck? Who cares about an emote? Look at the weapons and armor that Lord Saladin is selling. It's all shit. And now both sides seem to be fighting one another instead of fighting Bungie for dominance of the Iron Banner conversation. Personally, I think that this is just another step in the same old song and dance of Destiny 2's loot system absolutely sucks. A couple of days ago, I posted a video about Bungie respecting player time and investment. On that video, someone left a comment to the effect of, well, random rolls doesn't do that either. To which I disagree. Destiny is, after all, a looter shooter, and RNG weapons and armor are a hallmark of the genre. Now, while we can agree that Destiny 1 didn't have the best implementation of it, when you buy a looter shooter, you know what you're getting into. Saying that RNG weapons and armor with RNG stats doesn't respect player time and investment when that very system is what carried Destiny 1 through so many content droughts is like saying, I don't like Final Fantasy because it's not Halo. That's just ridiculous. Now, there's nothing wrong with saying, hey, you know that theater mode from Halo? That would be really cool if it was in every game, like, say, Final Fantasy. Then I could take some really cool videos of me killing monsters. Nothing wrong with that. But saying that Final Fantasy needs to be a first-person shooter? Well, yeah, you know what? That's kind of silly. The same kind of applies here. Bitching that a looter shooter wastes people's time with RNG loot is a self-defeating argument, as you're playing a looter shooter. RNG loot is kind of the entire point of the exercise. Take the looter shooter elements out of the looter shooter and you might as well just be playing a class-based Halo with weapon skins and armor skins. I mean, that's basically what Destiny 2 is at this point. It's a class-based Halo with more weapons than it needs, as by and large, all the weapons either suck or are super redundant. In many cases, they're just basically the same exact weapon with different skins or a different model and slightly different stats. This, of course, is a two-pronged issue. One, the perk pool is shallow and sucks, let's be honest. With only a handful of weapon perks, weapons are going to be redundant or useless. Basically, in the most abstract sense imaginable, we do have random rolls in Destiny 2. The Kaibu is just a re-rolled number, which is just a re-rolled Uriel's gift. Basically, they're all the same weapon. All the 450 Amalan assault rifles are the same exact weapon with different rolls. And let's be completely and utterly honest here. The same exact thing could be said for all these Suros-looking hand cannons, or all of the hand cannons that look exactly like Better Devils but aren't quite Better Devils because Better Devils is Better Devils. And then all the assault rifles that are basically just the origin story with a slightly different paint job and a slightly different perk roll. In Destiny 1, every DLC would get a complete vendor reset. For the Crucible, for the factions, for the Vanguard, for the Iron Banner, and we bitched about it being reskinned. But we couldn't know! We could not possibly know it would get worse. Now armor is basically just cosmetic, so much so that all they need to do is add a new ornament, and oftentimes the ornament doesn't even really change the armor, it just looks like a slightly different skin. Remember when all the Year 1 raids didn't have just one set of weapons spread out across the entire year? Remember when you could get an entirely new set of weapons and gear per raid? Pepperidge Farm remembers. This Iron Banner loot, this Iron Banner emote being sold in the cash shop, and the anxiety over it is all just part of a greater issue with Destiny 2. We are a year in, 2 DLCs, and I would hazard to guess that most people are still using the same handful of weapons. Uriel's Gift, Last Hope, Better Devils, Antiope D, Midnight Coup, Sins of the Past. Sure, there have been some things that have come in and out of the meta like Vigilance Wing, Graviton Lance, which have replaced the Mida Multi-Tool. But I and many others have basically spent an entire year with the same few weapons and most of the same armor. Why? Why is this a thing? Because it is pointless to go after anything else. We've already got the cream of the crop. And that is Destiny 2's issue. It spends so much time making sure that everybody is on a balanced playing field, that everybody can dress up their Barbie doll with everything they want, that it spends no time making the game worth playing. I mean, look no further than the most recent raid. It's probably the hardest of the 3, and yet the loot is a sidearm and a fusion rifle that are barely worth talking about. Why is that? Well, because everything has to be accessible to everyone else. And that's just terrible game design because it removes the aspiration aspect. The aspect of, man, I want to get better so I can actually do this activity. And you know what? There should just be things that people can't get. I'm sorry. If you're not good enough to get it, then you shouldn't be able to get it. If you're not willing to put in the time and effort to LFG or get a raid group together or, do what you need to do in order to get that item, then you don't need to have it. I'm sorry, that's just how it should be. And you know what? I know and I respect and I even sympathize with the people that have 1,000,001 different excuses as to why they can't do something. I get it, life gets in the way. That doesn't mean that there shouldn't be things that are locked off from players who just don't have the time or skill to get them. Both can still exist. I'm not saying everything needs to exist in this state, but some things do. Because it creates aspiration. The first time you saw somebody with Fatebringer, you wanted to get Fatebringer. The first time you saw somebody with the Vex Mythoclass, you wanted to get the Vex Mythoclass. The first time you saw somebody with Galahorn, you wanted to get Galahorn. There's nothing like that in Destiny 2. You don't have that aspiration, you don't have that chase, you don't have that want. You don't have that thing that is going to carry the game through content droughts. And in a rather amusing turn of events, it is this change to this weapon system, this change to the way that loot is handled, it is the removal of this aspiration that has actually put more work on Bungie's plate, not less. They did this originally, I assume, so they didn't have to balance so many things over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. Yet, at the end of the day, not only are they having to buff everything, but they just have to create so much more content to keep players engaged because there is no chase. Once you get a weapon, you've gotten that weapon. There is a definitive end to Destiny's endgame, where in Destiny 1, you could always chase something else. There's always that white whale. And we're not even talking about things like tier 12 armor or just getting armor that tweak the stats of your character so they played the way that you want them to play, so that the recharge rates were exactly where you wanted them. Yes, everybody went towards tier 12 armor, but you could just go for recharge rates that felt right to you on all of your stats. That's not here either. It's all uniform, it's all standardized, it's all dumbed down, it's all boring. In a misguided attempt to make sure that everything was balanced, in a misguided attempt to make sure that everybody could get everything to dress up their Barbie doll, Bungie has created a game where it's not worth dressing up your Barbie doll. And to ultimately get back to the emote, there is a level of principle here. If the Iron Banner has gear being sold by Tess, what next? Faction rallies? Wait. That might actually just be happening. There is something intrinsically sleazy about tying an event item to the cash shop, more so when the loot by comparison that you can get from the event by playing the event is lackluster at best. That's me being generous, it's actually just all shit. This isn't Bungie's first rodeo with this sort of thing either. This is a mistake that they keep making over and over and over and over again. If this was just sort of some funny dance or a meme come to life, nobody would care. Nobody would be bitching about this. Nobody bitches about the other emotes, just this one. Why? Because it is an Iron Banner emote being sold in the cash shop during the Iron Banner event. And this event has very shit loot. So people are looking at this emote and they're saying, you know what? I would have grinded to level 50 for that. Isn't that some shit when you think about it? The biggest complaint that people have about loot is they want a reason to play your game, Bungie. I mean, what a problem to have. Currently, and since the beginning of Destiny 2 really, the community has just wanted a reason to play, not pay. That's the underlining joke in all of this. That's the tragedy. People want to play Destiny 2. They want a reason to grind, but again and again and again, we see Bungie putting all of the reason that people would grind in the cash shop. So much so that it's completely devalued cosmetic items. People used to grind raids for ships and sparrows and ghosts, but now nobody gives a fuck about them. How incredibly self-defeating has this entire cash shop fiasco been? I mean, it's just mind-blowing. And to kind of close out the discussion on gear as well, Bungie has stated in their roadmap that they are going to return random rolls, and that they are going to change the way that weapon slots work. Now, this is all well and good, but if they just take the handful of perks that we currently have in the game now, and randomly roll them on weapons, there's absolutely no point. We'll be back here in September saying, well, you know, this is a great start, but they really need to flesh this system out. Just like we've done with every DLC and everything added and every hotfix for the last 4 fucking years. We will be saying, yes, this system is a great step in the right direction, but it's not as good as it could be. Hopefully they'll fix it, hopefully they'll improve it, and hopefully it won't take a fucking year for them to do it. We will have the same song and dance we've had for the last year. Destiny 2's RNG weapon rolls need to be just as fleshed out as Destiny 1's, if not more, or they might as well not even bother fucking doing it. But hey, those are just my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comments below, and like always, stay frosty.